Thank you guys for coming in and sitting down for a second and learning. And throughout any of it, please just raise your hands, ask questions. I love to know specifically what your questions are. That way I can really address what your needs might be. Let's talk about what radon is. A lot of people have heard about radon, and over the years the EPA, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, has tried to educate the public gradually rather than with a big burst. And a lot of that was because they were not interested in really putting out a scare to the US population, because there is really a large concern with radon. And it's prevalent in homes. People ask sometimes, do I have radon in my house? The answer is yes. Every home throughout the world has radon. When we are out in the middle of the ocean, you can be out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean where there are no rocks, there's no uranium. I just blew one of the questions, uranium. The answer is there. But you can be out in the middle of the ocean and the level is 0.4 picocuries per liter. That's the measurement of radon. And it's really a low number. It's no big deal. Some people might even say a little bit of it is healthy for you. There are caves in Montana where people go into the caves and get a burst of radon exposure that can be beneficial because it goes in and does a lot of damage, and then the cells have to recreate themselves. So if we're doing that kind of damage, that's all right in short bursts. But if you're living in a house, especially here in Utah, Utahns are known for having a lot of children, and we put them in the basement. We're also known for being very careful with health regarding smoking and some other things. Statistics are that Utahns are more health conscious with regards to smoking and some other substances that we put in our body, not ice cream. We love our ice cream, I do too. So we worry about the smoking so much, and then we stick our kids in the basement at an early age and we bring them up in a radon-rich environment. Radon is a gas that is tasteless, colorless, odorless. It's not detectable by any human sense. Has to be detected with devices such as radon monitors. There are many devices. What we actually measure is the alpha, beta, and gamma particles shooting through the air. And there are devices that actually allow us to see these things. You can't see the actual alpha, beta, and gamma, but you can see condensation trails from them in certain chambers, and it's fascinating. It's an amazing, it's really something cool to see. But these things are traveling through the air so fast, and they cause damage to our cells. So radon being a gas that we can't detect, a lot of people don't realize it's there. If you're around secondhand smoke, or if we're smoking, which causes lung cancer, it's the #1 cause of lung cancer in America, we can tell there's something going on, but with radon you can't. So what we need to do is we need to test every home, test your home. That's the only one we worry about. Test your home for radon. And the state of Utah has made it really easy to test because, and they've provided me with coupons, and you can get these online as well, but the coupons are for a $6 radon test so that you can actually test your home. That includes the lab fee and everything. So for $6 you can find out what your level is. And levels, the EPA says the safe level, there is no safe level, but the acceptable level of safety is 4 picocuries. Just know that, especially like in the county of Beaver, which is the highest in Utah, I've mitigated or taken care of the radon to levels of over 300. That's unbelievable. In Salt Lake County, we typically rarely get over 40, but 40 is a big number. My house had a 25 when I moved in, and I have a system installed in my house. I'm down to 0.8, so almost outside air. And it doesn't, we don't go into houses and just get the radon. There's thoron gas, which we've not measured. We don't know how much is down there. In Utah, it's not too much of a concern. But you have molds and allergens. Think of the smells that you have in basements that come up through the concrete. We go down underneath the concrete pad, get the radon before it comes into the house, and we're also getting the molds, allergens, whatever else is coming up. We get most of it. Really clean the air up. So over in my booth number 300, I've got a ton of these. Just come over and grab a coupon. So we talked a little bit about what is radon. What is the cause of radon? Anybody know the original source? That's the answer that I gave a little bit ago. Uranium. Basically the breakdown of uranium. Anything radioactive, there's a life cycle that it stays in one component or another, one element or another. And as it breaks down, it turns into poloniums and some radiums, lead with a bunch of numbers behind it that are all radioactive. And in one of the decomposition processes, that might not be the right word, it gives off a radon gas. And this happens over millions of years. So typically in Utah, let's take a canyon and an area that we're really close to here. You have Little Cottonwood Canyon, which for anyone that's out of town is just straight east of us. Over millions of years, the uranium that was embedded in the rocks has eroded and been brought down. You can see the sandbars into the Great Salt Lake and then even down as far as we are here. So the further you get to the canyons, which is right where I live, you get levels higher and higher and higher. And once you get up into the mouth of the canyon, levels of 30 are very, very common. And so Little Cottonwood was a canyon where there was more uranium than if you jump over even into Bell Canyon, right next to it, like a quarter mile next to it. Not much uranium, Little Cottonwood, a ton of it. So Willow Creek area, test your home. If you're in Willow Creek, test your home. It's one of the highest areas in the state. Springville, Alpine, really, really high. Harriman's high. So, yes. What does it do? It causes lung cancer. Thank you. Thank you. Great question. It does not, it's not heavier than air. It disperses in the air quickly in outside air. It's not heavier, it's not lighter. It's right about equal. It's not like carbon monoxide that sits low. It's found in the basement because that's the source. It's coming up through the concrete. It actually comes up through, so like the basement level will have about twice as much as the level upstairs. And then if it's a two-story house, about half again. Ron? Best way to get rid of it. Let's say we have a high radon level in the house. And over in Colorado, you live in Colorado, Ron? Yes. So over in Colorado also, big levels, even more than Utah, and we have a lot of it here. So what we really do is we go down below the concrete pad. That's the source. And there are air pockets down there. So we cut a nice little 6-inch hole in the concrete floor, hopefully in the furnace room or a storage room, something like that. Go down, create a pit, run a pipe out of that pit, route that to a fan. The EPA is very specific where all of these components can be installed. And that fan is a suction fan. It's not like an air mover like a bathroom fan. It's a suction fan. I have one in the booth. And then you create suction in that pit, and you actually, and this sounds a little funny, but it just absolutely works great. We pull the air from inside the footings, which are down below the foundation. We pull that air through the porous aggregate, sand, rocks, whatever it may be, into this pit, and then we exhaust it out into the atmosphere, which is where it would have gone anyway. That's where it ought to be. Great question, thank you. And then we test afterwards to make sure that we actually are at acceptable levels. Comments from people when we finish installing these systems, be it psychosomatic or not, I have no idea. I have people who say, the air just feels lighter downstairs. And it may be the moisture that, would have been coming up through the concrete. Maybe it's that effect, I'm not really sure. But some people really seem to notice. In a crawl space, anyone with a crawl space in their home, they have that musty smell, Just put a radon system in, whether you have radon or not, and you will eliminate that smell entirely, immediately too, not over, you know, some time. Ron? Not necessarily. It depends what or how much uranium is actually in the ground. So if it's gold in the ground and not much uranium, if there's gold, there's probably uranium. Okay, if it's metallic rich soil, but again, the only way to know is to test. Like we can have an area in Salt Lake County, like West Valley City, which has very low levels of radon. And yet, every once in a while, boom, here's a house just sitting right on a spot where there's some uranium decomposing. So even, you know, even if we're living in an area that it's not known to be a high radon area, it's $6, test and find out. What's going to happen more and more when people sell their home, and this appeals to the guys a little more than the ladies. Somehow we seem to be financially worrying about the house. I know I'm stereotyping here, but it's still the real world here in Utah, where the guys seem to be concerned with, all right, when I go to sell my house, let me back up and say this differently. If someone's coming to buy your house, about half of the home buyers are now testing for radon. There are 10 states where it's mandatory that if you buy a house, you have to do a radon test. That'll happen here in Utah too, eventually. So your home's going to be tested for radon. It might be nice, in my opinion, if you test it ahead of time. You know that you don't have radon, that's great. If you do have radon, get it fixed and enjoy the benefits, because someone's going to buy your house, they're going to test it, and then they're going to make you put a system in anyway. And so you get to pay the $1,500. That's usually a question. How much does it cost? Typically about $1,400 to $1,500 to install a system. And so you'll spend that and give that much money to everyone else or the other person who may be buying the house. So take advantage of it. It's a great thing. It's really, you know, when I speak with customers after we're finished putting systems in, the real benefit here is that people, when we're finished, they really have that feels good of, wow, I've done something great for my family, especially these young families with 2, 3 little kids that they're just putting in the basement. So my time's about out, and I'm thinking if there's anything that I could say quickly that might be of benefit to anyone. And that would be, although this stuff is tasteless, odorless, colorless, it does have an effect. It affects some people more than others, and that we don't know until after the fact. So again, if lung cancer is a concern, if it runs in the family, especially get your home tested. It's inexpensive, and the fix is a one-day fix. It's an easy fix, other than writing that check for the $1,400 to $1,500. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for sitting through.
Okay, we have our next presentation starting. We have Trina Boyce with MultiPure, and she will be talking. She's from booth 509, so please swing by and check out their booth. They got really cool products. They have really cool water purification systems. Anyway, she's over in booth 509, but her subject today is going to be on how to stay up in a down economy, how to earn and save money.
Welcome.
So if you're
I'm
interested
so
in that,
glad you stopped by. Tell me more about yourself. Are you looking to further your education?
So if you're interested in that, that'll start in about 5 minutes. We do have another prize to give away. Our prize this time is from Tomorrow's Harvest, booth 519. Be sure to swing by and check them out. They got a lot of cool food storage products. It's a $249 value. It's 3 cans of chocolate milk and 3 cans of non-fat milk, white milk. And so they got a really unique process that they use for their dry milk, and they want to let everybody know about it. So anyway, the next prize is this, and it's and the winner is Patty Steele. Patty Steele, if you're here, do backflips, cartwheels, jump up and down, something. But come on up to the stage, and we'll have your prize here. Patty Steele.
On your mark, get set. You ready for this next presentation? It's all about money. Who wants more money? Nobody. Okay, I guess I can sit down. All right, today's presentation is called How to Save Money and Earn Money in a Tough Economy. Or you could also call it, How Can I Get That for Free? Who likes free stuff? Let's hear everybody go, woo! That's what I'm talking about. All right, let's get started. I've got a couple of pictures that are kind of interesting from the Great Depression. Check out these. Look at this. This picture I think is really interesting. Does that guy look like he's 44? He looks like he's 64, doesn't he? I think that's a really sobering picture, and it tells me that back in the Depression, people had to be very creative with their money, how to get a job, how to save money, how to earn money. That's what this presentation is about. And in today's economy, where we feel like our money is being squeezed, I've got some really great fun ideas for you. How many of you guys noticed that the word IRS put together with the actually stands for theirs? Anybody else notice that, or is that just me? Yeah? Does that kind of make anybody crazy, or is that me? Yeah, that's me. All right, how about this new 1040 easy to do tax form? This is another one that they're considering sending out. It's really just simple. 2 steps. Number 1, how much money did you make? And you fill in the blank. And number 2, send it to us. You just can't get much easier than that, right? Aren't we glad we don't have that tax system yet? But it could be coming. All right, well, let's talk about money. We have 2 different kinds of expenses. We have fixed expenses, and those fall in these categories. Stuff that is just the same amount every month. You've got a budget for it. You know it's coming. You got to figure out how to pay it. And then we have things that are flexible expenses. Those are things that can vary in amount. It can go up or down depending on what you're buying and spending. Hobbies, gifts, recreation, entertainment, right? We have a little bit more control over those kinds of expenses. So I always ask myself 4 things when I'm getting ready to spend money, and that is, do I need it? And as you walk around today, you'll find you need all this stuff. Number 2, do I want it? Yeah, I pretty much want to buy all the stuff that's at the expo today. Can I live without it? Well, that's a little, that's where you have to decide. And 4, how can that money be better spent? Again, that's a personal question. But remember those questions, and as you're trying to teach your children how to manage money. Have them practice these 4 steps. All right, before we jump into more specifics, I've got some recommendations for some really great websites to help you save money. ProvidentLiving.org has some excellent resources. BetterBudgeting.com has all kinds of great forms where you can put down your assets, your liabilities, all that kind of stuff. LowerMyBills.com also helps you budget, has some fun comparisons. And there's more. But let's jump to something that my kids make fun of me for, and that is my beloved coupon box. How many of you guys have a coupon box? My kids make, yeah, good, raise your hand. My kids make fun of me, and they say, if there were ever a